For those of you that don't know me, my name is Joel Zwiers, and I've had the pleasure of being friends with Mark and the Boschers for a few years now. Some highlights for us include a spring break trip to Florida, where Mark still tells stories about a 6-foot shark swimming directly at his face. Meeting strangers in the hotel hot tub who were touring cross country on crotch rockets, and almost losing our lives when a tire detached from the van when we were driving down. Shout out to Mama B for keeping us alive, because I don't know how she kept control of that car. We've watched countless movies, half of which I think I fell asleep for. Again, last night, I couldn't stay awake. And we've taken probably upwards of 100 trips to Steak and Shake, becoming friends with all the waiters and waitresses who work there at 1 in the morning. And while it's been a blast going on various bro dates, it's awesome to see you guys getting married today, and I couldn't be happier for you. In a way, I almost find this day a little comical, because if you would have asked me 5 years ago if Mark and Laura would be getting married, I would have said no, and I would not have believed you if you told me so. I would have told you that Laura's too pretty and talented for Mark, and Mark didn't have the nerve to ask Laura out, and that's all there was to the story. So even though they've been dating for 4 years, Mark's interest in Laura started about a year and a half before that, and I had an insider's view on the whole thing, so I thought I would share a little bit about what I was seeing before they were a couple. So it's junior year of high school, and every Saturday night I end up at Mark's house, and this would usually result in us taking a trip to Blockbuster, which dates our friendship, where it was inevitable that Laura would come up in conversation. Mark would say how she had his attention and she thought she was really cool, but he never had any classes with her, and he didn't really see her around that often. As the school year came and went and first semester of senior year passed by, there was still no good scenario where Mark and Laura were placed in the same classroom or social setting. Now, instead of saying that he just liked Laura, he was toying around with the idea of asking her out, which he was constantly back and forth about. One day he'd be like, "Oh, you can't just go up to a girl you don't really talk to and ask her out," and the next day he'd, have a good night's sleep and have some confidence or something and be like, "Yeah, man, like I'll just do it. I'll just go up and ask her." And I always felt like I was a very supportive friend, so whatever he was feeling, I just was on his side. I was like, no help at all, but when he was feeling down, I was like, "No, man, like that's just weird, you can't do it." And when he was up, I'd give him a confidence boost and be like, "Yeah, man, like not a big deal." I had a girlfriend at the time, so I was like, "I don't know anything about this anymore, like that's your issue, like do whatever you want." Quick side note, I no longer have said girlfriend, so me and Alan will be up here most of the evening. We're very approachable. Feel free to introduce yourselves. So anyways, we would scout out the hot lunch. Mark and I would scout out the hot lunch area on our break and try to catch Laura alone and Mark in a confident mood, which never happened at the same time. Finally, Mark worked out a plan that he would catch Laura as she was in between classes by herself. There was construction going on at her school, so you needed to walk outside to get between the two parts of the buildings, and this would provide Mark a perfect opportunity to come from the parking lot and meet her alone right before she was about to come into the building. I was also in on this plan because Laura and I were in the same art room in the morning, and I was going to send him a text and let him know the bell had rung and she was coming his way. Just another side note, just because me and Laura were in the same art room definitely does not mean we're in the same class for art. While she was upstairs working on the Worry Monster, which was submitted for art prize, I was downstairs with a bunch of freshmen getting an A for participation and effort. Regardless, the bell rings. I'm tailing Laura by a good 10 yards. I don't know if she's ever heard this. I'm not a stalker, it's okay. And so she gets outside the building, and I'm far enough behind her, I can see like through these glass windows, and I just don't see Mark anywhere. I was thinking maybe he didn't get my text, maybe he bailed, and then just like a classic movie that I fell asleep for, he was there and gone. I didn't even know what I was seeing because he was moving. He was running so fast to catch up to her, like Coach Fellows would have been proud. But luckily he was, because he caught her right as she went into the other side of the building and got his chance to ask her out. And turns out she said no. She didn't want to go with him. It's okay, buddy. I'd like to say I was still a supportive friend in that situation. But after some convincing, she eventually came around, and now 4 years later, here we are. So congrats, you did it. I couldn't be happy for you guys, and even though there's been some mileage between us the last couple of years, and there'll be even more when you move to Alaska, I mean, I love you like a brother, and I'm just so happy for you guys today.